Since 1992, the Center for Continuing Education, CCE, has presented seminars featuring the best in topics and talent. Our programs are available in online, DVD, and CD formats. CCE can also customize seminars for your law firm or corporate law department needs. The Center for Continuing Education is a State Bar of California approved MCLE provider.
Hello and welcome to our program. This is Sports Law Rules of the Game, presented by the Center for Continuing Education. The goals and objectives of this program are designed to develop a contract negotiating strategy for an imaginary player that will maximize the player's compensation and the athlete's opportunities and value on and off the field. By the time this program is completed, you will be able to do the following. Explain the role and qualities of the athlete representative in professional sports. Define the non-statutory labor exemption in sports law and how it affects antitrust laws. Explain the impact of collective bargaining on a player contract. Identify at least 6 issues to address when negotiating an athlete's contract. And finally, identify strategies used to deal with salary caps. Now, we have a website available to you where you can see an actual player's contract and, in addition, a case study. And you can do that at the official CCE website, which is as follows, www.cce-mcle.com. And our guest speaker and the key man in this story today in this program that will be able to give you the knowledge you need is attorney Steve Baker, who will be with us in just a moment. Steve Baker is president of Baker Sports Management in San Francisco. He has a BA from Tufts University and has his law degree from Cornell University. He is a nationally known sports attorney and has lectured on the issue all over the country. And if you're into football particularly, you'll know some of the names he's represented and gotten them multi-million-dollar contracts, including Pro Bowl quarterback Jeff Garcia, lineman Ray Brown, and many, many others. He's very involved in charitable work and also has been involved with CCE, the Center for Continuing Education, since 1992. Steve, great to have you with us here today, and we certainly appreciate your help in this program. And you know, I guess what I think about when I think about a lawyer involved in the sports activities with players, it seems like there are times that it has to be an incredibly difficult paperwork, negotiating kind of business where you're face-to-face with somebody who doesn't want to give you a penny more than they absolutely have to. So what is it for you that makes it special? What are the kind of attractions to the profession that makes it special? Some moments that stand out for you?
I think the biggest challenge and excitement is finding a way to use the rules that exist in the business and find a way to think outside the box where you can benefit the client and also find a way to make a deal that works for both the client as well as for the team.
Any examples that maybe jump out at you where you've had an opportunity to do something in an unusual circumstance?
I guess one experience that particularly sticks in my mind was back in February 9th, 1999. My twins were born, and on the way to the hospital to see my wife and see the kids be born, I was dealing with a team, and we were about $1 million apart on a contract. And and what I really enjoyed about it is I came up with an exception to the salary cap where, using incentives and using an interestingly structured signing bonus, found a way to do something that benefited the player and benefited the team. And doing those kind of deals tends to make the business very exciting.
Now, this is a business that really doesn't go back a long way. You can go back to the mid-'70s, and there was a stage there where a player wouldn't even consider a rep, and if he had one, he'd be thrown, he'd be traded. There's the famous story of Vince Lombardi, who I believe one of his linemen came in and said, "I want a raise," and he said, "I've got an attorney that's going to get it for me." Lombardi says, "Just a moment." He walked out in the other room and got on the phone, and 2 minutes later walked back and it says, "You're out of here." So what has happened to the business maybe over the last 10 or 20 years?
Well, I think it's become more sophisticated on both sides. And back, like the times you were talking about, I mean, I remember there was an experience with Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale, the same thing, where they tried to work together on a deal and it didn't succeed. Over the last 20, 30 years, it's become much more of a business. The people from the team side are much more sophisticated. You're frequently dealing with a lawyer or an MBA, instead of Joe's cousin's uncle's sister. And similarly, representative usually tends to be a lawyer or someone with an MBA, and as a result, the negotiations tend to be much more sophisticated.
What do you think are the key qualities that an individual must have if he's going to do what you do well?
There's a lot of different things you need to have going for you, but I think there's probably three critical qualities. One is the skills of knowing the business, knowing how to negotiate, knowing the rules behind the negotiation, understanding the collective bargaining agreement, understanding all the different rules that surround the actual negotiation. The second issue I think that's important is the level of relationship you have with your client. You're not necessarily looking to be someone's best friend, but you're looking for someone to have the access to you at all times, someone that you can totally trust. I frankly see it as a job that's 24/7. You're dealing with people that are confronting issues for the first time, and they need to, if a parent or a relative or the player has a concern at 4 in the morning, you have to be available for them. And I think the third thing is being able to handle their off-field interests, be it marketing, be it charitable interests, when it's a young player, preparing him to get ready for the draft, issues relating to how they're going to spend their money. I very much believe that a representative shouldn't be involved in investing the money, but I believe has a fiduciary duty to help the player find the right vehicles to go towards.
It would also appear that there are many issues of involvement with your clients that involve more than just getting them a contract. I would assume, and we'll talk about this as this program goes along, by the way, that there are issues of getting them financial advice and helping them maybe with counseling issues and maybe even how to do something as simple as do a checkbook and all the things that they might have ever thought about when they're just coming out of school.
Well, one thing that's much more different with an athlete than someone in some other profession is you have someone making frequently millions of dollars without having developed any sophistication towards how to handle money to that point. I mean, you're dealing with someone in the real estate business, they usually bought something, or they dealt with something, or they did a mortgage before they actually started doing their next investment. An athlete, their expertise is being a great athlete. It's not necessarily being sophisticated with money.
Well, why don't we talk to an athlete and find out about that? We're now going to talk to Oakland Raider defensive back Nnamdi Asomugha. Now's our opportunity to get the players' look at sports attorneys, and our guest is Nnamdi Asomugha, who's from the University of California. He was the first-round draft pick of the Oakland Raiders back in 2003. He was an all-Pac-10 defensive back, and having done his broadcast at the University of California, he was a remarkable football player because the head coach, Jeff Tedford, wherever he felt Nnamdi was needed, that's where he put him. He had those kind of skills where he could fit into almost any position, often lined up against the top receiver from the opponent. So Nnamdi in college had a good reputation. Steve Baker is, of course, a local Northern California sports attorney. So Nnamdi, let's take it from the beginning and tell us what made you decide to sign with Steve Baker. What were the kind of the things that went into your decision? Did you talk to players who had signed with him maybe from Cal in the past? Do you have any family connections? Run us through it a little bit.
Well, there were no family connections, no players really in the past that I spoke to. It was just a series of intense probing, I'd say. Well, when I met with Steve, he had spoken to my mom and everything, and he was courteous enough to respect my time, and he waited till the season was over to start contacting me. And so I spoke with him. We had, lunch. I spoke with him on the phone. Off the bat, I knew that he was going to be the guy, just based off his personality and things like that. And I allowed my mom to interview him as well.